afternoon, everybody. This is the day before Friday, so we'll keep the leadership presentation in a quick pace. I would not dwell on the slide for very long. So first of all, I'd like to show you that this is not my work. This is John C. Maxwell's work. I'm going to share his book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. John is actually, I followed John for many years. I followed Maxwell in the 90s. He has actually written many books, and he sold 25 million books in 50 languages. In 2014, he was identified as the #1 leader in business by American Management Association and the most influential leadership expert in the world by Business Insider magazine. He has voted the top leadership professional in the world of leadership in a world on leadershipguru.net for six consecutive years. He is a founder of many companies such as John C. Maxwell Company, the John Maxwell Team, Equip, and the John Maxwell Leadership Foundation. So I've read many of his books and follow him, and he speaks in a way that engage people as a true leader out of his heart. I think he speaks things out of his heart. And earlier in the pandemic situation, he has a series of leading through changes program over the last months or so. So I followed that on YouTube as well. So I would like to share what we are going to talk about. So really it's a multiple part review on this book, 21 Irrefutable Law of Leadership. We've broken down to 7 multiple parts. So this is the first one. And there are 21 irrefutable laws. And the word irrefutable really means that you cannot disprove it. It applies in many situations about these laws. You know, in professional life, in business life, in personal life, in any organization, profit, non-profit, big business, small business. Some of them even apply spiritually, if you may. And each one we are going to talk about 3 values in bite-sized chunks. So as I say before, we can learn together, grow together, learn small pieces to apply and grow and learn again, and so on and so forth. So there are many values of the book that I found. There are 4 core values I find. Number 1 is I think it's highly ethical. There are many values that talk about integrity, talk about honesty, talk about adding value to other people in an ethical arena. It's not something that you lead an organization by fear. It's leading an organization by adding value to influence people. So these are high ethical values we can learn from one of the best leaders. It improves your self-awareness. And to be honest with you, to me, the most difficult person to lead is myself. So if you improve your self-awareness, how you can be self-aware of your leadership styles and your leadership capability. It's incremental learning, so you can learn a little bit, apply, and then learn a little bit more and apply, so you get ongoing daily application. So these are the core values of the book. The first value I'm going to talk about, or the first law I'm going to talk about, is the top law of the lid. Maxwell actually almost equivalently talk about leadership is effectiveness. So how effective a person lead is determined how effective a team, an organization, a company could be. And leadership has a multiplying effect. And you can see in the 2 cups in the diagram that the smaller cups has a different lead than the larger cup. So in terms of growth, in terms of the lead of an organization, is the growth limiting factor of the organization. As the organization or company expand, the lead need to be changed or modified or adapt to the current growth format. As we are progressing into an unknown in this pandemic situation, and for your organization, for your team, for your particular company, you probably need to have modified yourself and change and adopt to the new situation. And if you do not do this, then you become the growth limiting factor for your organization. So in other words, personal growth is essential to grow an organization, team, or company. And I'd like to address the multiplying effect a little bit by the following diagram. Maxwell used two examples in his book to talk about that. So you can see that the yellow section on the bottom line is a scale of 1 to 10 about success dedication. Is your hard work, is your time management, is your knowledge, is your ability to multitask. Many organizations or many people leading a team, if you accomplish up to a scale of 10 up to the 8 point, where the yellow portion is, you're very successful. If you can maximize yourself up to the 10 point, on a 10-point scale, you are excellent. But then again, 8 is very good. But this is only one dimension. You cannot do work all by yourself. You have to rely on other people to do the work. And some of the attendees today are from the network marketing world. You have to rely on other people to do that. And if you multiply that by your leadership ability, you become the following diagram, which is the blue part is that you multiply by that, and your success or your effectiveness is multiplied by your leadership ability. That's the law of the lid. And the two examples that Maxwell gave in his book was number one, McDonald's. McDonald's, well, everybody been to McDonald's, and McDonald's restaurants were formed in their 50s. And in California, originally they have one store and one shop and one restaurant. And the McDonald brothers actually stopped there until a few years later, another investor came along and shared his vision and helped them to grow. So changing a leader actually helped the organization to grow, and they formed the McDonald chain, and now McDonald's is many countries around the world. So in other words, the leaders, the McDonald brothers, stopped growing as they established one restaurant until another did come along and help them to grow. The other example he used is Apple computer. There's two Steve, and if you know Apple well, the first one is Steve Wozniak, and the other guy is Steve Jobs, that many people know him very well as well. The two person has different leadership style and leadership capability, and the lead is different. So Steve Wozniak was able to establish the company, create his vision, and he marketed Macintosh many years ago. And still Steve Jobs actually took it to the other level, all the iProducts, all the MacBook, the Mac Air, all the iProducts, the iPhone, Apple TV, is really helping the company to grow in a different dimension because of the leadership capability and the vision change. So that is the law of the lead. The second law is actually the law of inference. Now, I saw in the chat box that some of you actually define the law of leadership. I know that Eva, probably you read this book. Maxwell defined the law of leadership by the statement: the true measure of leadership is inference, nothing more and nothing less. That is the definition of leadership almost. Many of you might not be leaders. Many of you might be in an organization. You're working in an organization. You might be a team leader. You might be just a person working in a team. But you do not need a position to lead. So leadership is not by definition a position thing. Is is something that is defined by 7 different pillars. What I say is pillars. Maxwell doesn't use the word pillars, but I use the word pillars. There are 7 different pillars. It's not about possession. The first pillar that he established is character. Who are you? And I like to borrow a statement from my best friend Omar, Dr. Omar Benadir. The inner character, the inner self is the most important thing in leadership. Your self-esteem, your character, your integrity, your beliefs, your value, your identity, all these form and formulate your character. So the character is probably the most important thing, as a foundational pillar of these 7 pillars. The second is relationship, who you know. Who is in your networking circle? Who do you connect over time? And this networking circle becomes your relationship. How you develop rapport, how to connect people, how you read people. How do you know another person's personality in 10 minutes? How do you connect with them based on not who you are, but based on who they are? So your relationship kind of defined as a second pillar. The third thing is that your knowledge, your technical skill, your knowledge, your know-how, your analytical skill, you're able to read into data, you are able to interpret the data and make sense out of things. And especially that many people in business has that capability. But knowing the data, knowing all the information doesn't allow you to be a leader. Is another dimension comes along is your intuition, is your timing, is you know your surrounding, you read the momentum, you read the dynamics, you read the synergism. And that is more intangible than tangible. So the knowledge could be a tangible thing, but the intuition could be the intangible part. So the intuition become one of the pillars. The other pillar is your experience. And actually, Maxwell separate the experience with past success. Experience is experience. Experience doesn't dictate past success. But what you have learned from experience and become past success is actually the 2 different things. That's become 2 different pillars. Experience just only give you certain things that you know how to do. But past success, you know how to do it well and become successful. And the last pillar is the ability. It's your ability, the ability to make things happen, the ability to organize, the ability to do something and make things happen in a timely fashion. So these are the 7 pillars. And I think the best example that I've read in history or recent history that many people would know is Mother Teresa. She is actually, she was a well-known leader in terms of an organization where she provides food and medical treatment for people in Calcutta. Her organization is formed in the 50s, and she has helped many sick people with leprosy, with hunger, with disease that we do not want to touch. And I think that leprosy could be a thing that in that environment, being same as the pandemic right now, that she was able to lead those people and form an organization to help those people. She won the Nobel Prize many years ago. Now, Mother Teresa is in a way in a leadership position is what Maxwell called non-leveraged leader, because the position she was at is not a director, it's not a CEO. She could not leverage those titles to make people to follow her. But she reached out to people with the 7 pillars: her character, her know-how, her intuition, her ability to do things, to make things happen, and lead an organization. And her organization has actually now still in over 100 countries all over the world now. I'd like to ask you a question at this point of time with that 7 pillars we just talked about. You can think about for a minute. In the poll after this presentation, we'll talk about this. So the question is, which of these factors do you rely on the most when influencing others? So we can talk about that in the poll in a few minutes, but these are the 7 pillars or 7 factors that help us to build that leadership. Now, the third law that Maxwell talked about is the law of process. This is his quote: leadership develops daily, not in one day. It's a long process. It takes years. It's like an investment. So if you look at this graph, many of you might be good at investment, compound interest, simple interest. The gray line is the simple interest. Represented, you might learn something, you use it, and it's helped you to grow. That's good. But the blue line, compound interest, is different. It's a collection of skill set that you have identified, and you learn from and develop the skill set and refine yourself. You apply, you improve, you learn over a period of time. It's an ongoing process. It's not something that you just learn and forget about it. You're constantly learning and refining and improving it. So it's a compound investment over time. It's dynamic. It's not static. It's something that you adopt and connect with people, connect to a situation, apply what you have learned, and grow from there. In this pandemic situation, we face a lot of unknown. What is the market on next week or next month or in 6 months? Nobody knows the market. Nobody knows that the job market, the business environment in the future. So how adaptable we are in terms of learning these collective skill set and improve ourselves is going to be key. So in terms of growth, Maxwell outlines 5 different phases, and I need some time to explain this slide, so bear with me. The first phase is that in a skill set of leadership, I do not know what I do not know. So some of you might say, okay, I'm not a leader, maybe I do not need to learn that. But now you know that, well, before this presentation, you might be abide with this statement. But now you learn that you do not need to be a leadership position to be a leader. So you know that you need to know. So that's the second phase. Many people dwell between the first phase or the second phase. Okay, I know that I need to know. So you are in the second phase. And then you need to start off stepping yourself into the third phase. I know what I do not know. So you need to identify gaps or area that you could be improved. You could improve over time. And I have in the next line a chart to help you to do that. So a simple chart to help you to identify where the gaps are. The fourth phase is I know and grow, and it starts to show. So Maxwell talked about that is that you start applying what you've learned, and we refine and you grow and you adjust, and you learn and you grow and you learn and you grow. So you become from the third phase into the fourth phase. And by that, you do more often, and you do it with a team of people. You do it with a number of different people, and it becomes I simply do it. You simply go because of what I know. So there are 5 phases of growth in leadership, and each skill set within the leadership umbrella, you have to go through these 5 phases. Now, you might be thinking about, well, what are the skill set under leadership? There are many, many, many skill sets. And in the following table here, I've outlined on the left a set of skills that could demonstrate leadership. Let's say people skill, your emotional strength, your emotional intelligence, your empathy, that type of thing. Critical thinking, problem solving, how you set a goal, SMART, SMART goal, many people use. How you create a momentum, how you make things happen, your self-awareness, your discipline, time management, all these things, and even your technical knowledge. So these are only about 10 here or 9 here, but you can identify 20, maybe 30 on the list. And each phase you could actually map out like this. You can map out like this to identify where you are, and you can identify gaps that, okay, I need to move from phase 3 to phase 4. I need to move from phase 2 to phase 3, or phase 4 to phase 5. So when you are in this mapping, you can understand your next goal, where you want to be. So you could help you to grow over time and help you to identify, what are more immediate in your particular environment that you are in, what needs to be done much more efficiently or a higher priority than others. Okay, so this is the schedule for the rest of the month. The next one is Sam Fong is going to present critical reasoning and in the COVID-19 situation, a toolbox, from fact to fiction. So this is going to be very interesting on Monday. So the invite will be sent out in your social media on the next 2 days. And then we have Anthony talking about personal and income tax. And then next Friday is one of the big names in design thinking, Valerio from Italy is going to present. And Sam is actually a collaborator with us in a Critical program. He specialized in critical thinking, critical reasoning. He's earned a master's degree from University of Toronto, and he's actually a PhD candidate researching in biomedical sciences. He actually specialized in his research about cell functionality. It's very interesting thing that he do. But he helped us in terms of teaching people in critical thinking, critical reasoning. So we look forward to have you in the next session on Monday. And before we adjourn, Eddie, do you have any closing comments?
Yes, okay. First of all, thank you everyone joining again. I especially need to take this opportunity to thank you, Dave, yourself, and for all the support, all the past and for the future. Thank you so much. And look at all these future speakers coming onwards. It's very amazing speaker coming. Hopefully everyone can join, and looking forward to see you everyone again. And everyone joining this, you will receive a video on these presentations, and you will take a look, and also the past speaker. You can see the video in our OneHub channel as well. I pass it back to you, Dave. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Everyone has a good weekend. Thank you for your time today. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.